What are you at? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. I'm getting the encoder overloaded. Oh gosh. I hope this is not going to continue. I haven't looked at this since the last live stream, and it was working good. So hopefully we won't have any uh, technical issues here tonight. Anyway, welcome aboard. Welcome back. Let's see who's here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Woo, FPV. Hello. How you doing? Astrex. Well, good evening, all. I need to put a shilling in the meter. I think so. Yeah, it's. I hope it's not going to be an issue tonight. Hopefully not. I bought some new streaming gear, and hopefully it's all going to work out. Anyway, uh, Woo, aka Pick MCR, Pick'em MCR. Is that right? Welcome aboard. We haven't done our history quiz in many a moons, and I was going to do this stream on Valentine's Day, but the topic was you're moving house tomorrow. Congratulations. Input versus output, too dissimilar. Yes, this has been an ongoing thing. My computer gear is so antiquated that, anyway, long story. I've been through many permutations of this setup, and this is the last one. The next one will be a computer upgrade, which is not in the near future. Uh, anyway, won't go into details about that. If you want to see the details of that, you can go back through all the old live streams and see. Yes, it's great to know that you're moving, Astrex. Just move out of the frame there for a minute. Maybe you'll notice something in the background. Um, so let's get over to our quiz before we get on to tonight's topic, which is um, a dangerous one that I was going to do on Valentine's Day, but I didn't want to bum you out. And it's probably not going to bum you out. It's something that happened nearly 50 years ago in my old digs. Let's see if I can get this to work because this is all new setup for me here now. Thank you. Again, new setup, new gear. So I'm not used to the scene switching here. And now my picture's gone. Oh, it's back. Anyway, as you can see, a lot of bugs to iron out. Um, Hopefully you got me there now. You can see that, I guess. Who was the world's first comic superhero in 1936? Not depicted. Not Batman. Yeah, got it, Woo. Thank you. Or Pika, is it? What do we call you? Pika MC? Um, the I was talking about Jeff Sterling a while ago and the Newfoundland Herald, and there was Captain Newfoundland was one of the comics in the back of the Newfoundland Herald. The Newfoundland Herald was like a magazine style paper, and Meld Studio. Okay, I'll check it out. Uh, um, Jeff Sterling. He had a magazine called the Newfoundland Herald. It's like a newspaper. Started as a newspaper, but in my day, it was more like a magazine, and it had comics in the back of it. And one of them was The Phantom. I don't know the answer to this. I'm thinking it's Superman, so I'm going to go with Superman. 1234 is saying Captain America. I don't think so. I'm thinking Superman was the first one. Ooh, it was The Phantom. Wow. Yeah, The Phantom was definitely an older feeling comic strip. I never really got into reading The Phantom. All of these things are this week in history, so I assume The Phantom came out in, what was that year? 37? This week in 1937. What was the name of the Russian royal house that ruled 1613 to 1917? Grimaldi, Romanov, Nassau, Saxe-Coburg, and Gotha. Well, I think we know the answer to that one, don't we? Asterix, you got it right? I didn't see your guess there. The Phantom. Yeah, I'm surprised it's The Phantom, but as I said, I remember not being into The Phantom. I tried to get into it and read it. It was serialized, like it was continued week to week, I think. It was a continuing story, and it was hard to get into. And it was a strange one, but I guess it was the first one. Anybody know this one? Romanov? I'm pretty sure it is the Romanovs. Yeah, there we go. The Battle of Verdun was fought in which war? The Boer War, World War I, World War II, or Vietnam War? I think I know the answer to that one too. Battle of Verdun. Again, this week in history. Pretty sure I know the answer to this one. Can we get any clue from the photo? Is that relevant at all to us, I wonder? Can't really make out gear to the extent that I know. I'm not really familiar with gear of the day. I'm going to go World War One. I'm pretty sure it was World War One. Yeah, Verdun. Who was the first U.S. president to visit China? Now, I think I know this one too. Dwight D. Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, or Jimmy Carter? Yes, Pika, you got it right. And 1, 2, 3, 4, no, not Vietnam. But I'm sure you know that by now. I'm several seconds ahead of you here in time, so it takes a while for your answers to show up on my screen here, with the delay and the time it takes for it to show up here. This one I'm fairly certain this was Nixon. Not real sure, but fairly certain. Yeah, Richard Nixon. Who was the first rapper to be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame? Oh, I wouldn't know this one. Jay-Z, Kanye West, Drake, Mary J. Blige. I have no idea on this one. I'm going to have to leave this one to you guys, and I'm guessing you guys are probably not about as good as I am on this one. I've heard of these names before. That's about it, though. If I heard their music, I wouldn't even know I was listening to it. was never into the rap scene. But I remember the first rap song. Uh, my cousin, I went to visit my cousin in Nova Scotia, and thinking Blige, Mary J. Blige, um, went to visit my cousin, and she was really up on current music, which I wasn't. I was never one that followed the charts. I was into the Beatles in the 1970s and 80s. I was very behind the times and always was. I was always into older music. Uh, when I was a kid, I liked old rock and roll and doo-wop music, and that's what I grew up hearing my parents listening to. And I guess I graduated to the 1960s and 70s by the 1980s. Okay, let's go with Mary J. Blige. No, it's Jay-Z. Who printed the first Bible in 1455? We better know the answer to this one. William Caxton, Elizabeth Harris Glover, Juan Pablos, or Johannes Gutenberg? Anyway, my cousin was really up on all the latest hits, and she gave me a 45 Gilligan's Island. Yeah, we're back to Gilligan's Island again, right? Uh, she was really up on all the current hits, and yes, Asterix was watching Gilligan's Island. Uh, yes, of course, the answer to that one's Gutenberg. Uh, anyway, she gave me a 45 of Rapper's Delight by Sugar Hill Gang, if I recall correctly. And it was the first rap song, you know, on the airwaves that was on vinyl. And I think that's the name of it, Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. And I still remember a lot of it. And it was to the tune of, I think it was to the tune of We Are Family. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. I think it was to the tune of that, but no vocals from the original. They used the music and sang over the music. Pretty sure this is Gutenberg. Definitely Gutenberg. Who is this opera singer who made his debut this week in 1963? Well, I know who this is. Is it Placido Domingo, Luciano Pavarotti, Rudolph Valentino, or Bryn Terfel? Christmas Wrapping. No, I never heard that. A lot of these things are to the tune of. Did you really? You played? Did some DJing? Did you? How interesting. Yeah. What was that the right song? Did I get it right? Was it We Are Fam? Chic, the freak. Yeah, that's the. Why am I thinking it's that other song? I'm gonna have to listen to that now. And it's unfortunate. I really wanted to play a song tonight as well. Uh, anyway, we'll get to that. But playing music is a no-no on YouTube. So the answer to this one, of course, is Pavarotti. That's Pavarotti. True or false? Neanderthals, not humans, were the first artists on Earth. Well, we got a 50-50 chance with this one, but I'm pretty certain I know the answer. Um, Chic. The Freak Say Chic? Is that the one? I'm going to have to listen to that. Oh, that's terrible. Now what you hear is not a test. I'm just rapping to the beat. And me, the group, and my friends are going to try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello. Did I get it right? How could that be burned into my brain from what year was that? Like 76, 77, somewhere around there. Uh, Good times, yeah. I'm going to have to listen to it. We're not going to listen to it tonight, though. I'm pretty sure that this is true. The Neanderthals are the ones that did all the cave paintings, the famous cave paintings we see. And I guess they were probably discovered this week in history. Back in when? When were they discovered? I don't remember. Who wrote The Pilgrim's Progress? First published this week in 1678. This I don't know. John Milton, John Dryden, John Bunyan, John Keats. The Pilgrim's Protest. This certainly looks like American pilgrims. So that would probably rule out Milton and Keats because I'm pretty sure this is an American scene here. John Bunyan. All right, let's go with John Bunyan. Ah, good one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which World War II battle does this famous photo depict? The invasion of Normandy, Battle of Midway, Battle of Stalingrad, or Iwo Jima? Now, if you've been inundated with American history like myself growing up, we got all our cable channels from the United States. So I'm pretty well up on American history. I I always was interested in history, and America has a fascinating history, even though there's only, a couple of hundred years of history there. Well, there's about 500 years of history if you can include uh, you know, the Revolutionary War. It's about 400 or 500 years of history. Um, yeah, they've got a fascinating history, America. I was inundated with it, so yes, indeed, it is Iwo Jima Asterix. Flags of Our Fathers was the movie. We got 8. We got a couple wrong. Well, there you go. What can you say about that? See, wrong screen. But you like the. I don't have a mic on that screen. You like the new. That test card. You'll forgive me, there's no microphone on there, but that test card. I obviously recreated it from your famous test card from the 60s, 70s. And we never had that one, obviously. That was a BBC test card. And we never had that one growing up. Never ever saw that before until I moved here. And it looks like my audio and video are not quite in sync, are they? Um, at least it's the video is lagging here on my screen. There's a delay, which usually there isn't. So hopefully we're not going to get drop frames when I start playing the video here. Uh, February 15th, February 14th is a really tragic day in Newfoundland history. And uh, yeah, I put myself in there. Uh, they're in sync. Great, thank you. Um, Pika, is that what we're supposed to be calling you? Pika MC? Um, there's two movies. Yes, I'm sure there's a 40s one, isn't there, as well, like made back in the day. Iwo Jima, lots of Iwo Jima movies. Um, it was for color TV. Do you remember getting your first color TV? I remember that first color TV. Um, anyway, February 15th, Valentine's Day, February 14th, is a tragic day of remembrance in Newfoundland. Pika, if you've not been here before, I'm from Canada, from the east coast of Canada, called Newfoundland, place called Newfoundland. And the in 1982, I think it was, on Valentine's Day, we had a vicious winter storm, and the oil rig Ocean Ranger was lost on Valentine's Day, essentially. It was like, 1 o'clock in the morning, Valentine's Day, 15th. Uh, Tragic day in Newfoundland history, all hands lost. And we're going to have a look at 1972. Yeah, this sounds about right. Sometime around there when we got our first color TV. I wasn't very old. Um, anyway, let's get to the video. This video we're going to watch tonight. I'm not going to show the whole thing because it's over an hour long. This is a documentary that I worked on. I did the set construction for this video, and I think it was the early 2000s we did this video. So I'll show you a little bit of this video and probably interrupt and interject as we go along. Anyway, tragic day in Newfoundland history. We have so many tragically ironic days in Newfoundland. Canada Day, the 1st of July, is Canada Day. But in Newfoundland, where I'm from, Newfoundland is Canada's youngest province. We didn't join Canada till 1949. We were part of this country. We were a self-governing dominion part of this country. My parents had British passports, Newfoundland British passports. So yeah, we were more a part of this country. In my early life, we were still more a part of this country than we were part of Canada, really. And it has a really tragic string of remembrance days. Like the 1st of July is Canada Day. So everybody in Canada is going rah, 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 Canada. But in Newfoundland, it's Memorial Day. That's the first day of the Battle of the Somme. And the Newfoundland Regiment was wiped out on July 1st, 1916. So it's not a day of celebration in Newfoundland. And Valentine's Day has become another, the tragic Ocean Ranger loss. Anyway, I'll play a little bit of it. This is a video that I worked on, and I think it was about 2000, early 2000s, like 2002 maybe. I'm sure the date's here somewhere. I'll have a look. Okay, let's see.
On Valentine's Day, 1982, the largest semi-submersible oil rig in the world, the Ocean Ranger, is battered by a ferocious storm off the rugged east coast of Canada. After 12 hours, the giant rig topples. And 84 men face a desperate struggle for survival. This is the anatomy of the Ocean Ranger disaster. How a seemingly unsinkable marvel of technology.
I got to get hotkeys set up here. Yes, I remember watching the moon landing. I was only 3, but didn't watch it in color. We watched it in black and white, and I really remember it, even though I was only 3. Um, I remember Dad coming in and saying, "You got to watch this. This is important. You need to watch this." And I remember watching the moon landing. I vividly remember it, but it wasn't in color. It was in black and white. Well, the footage, I don't think the footage was even in color, was it? Was the footage broadcast in color? I don't, I don't know. We didn't watch it in color. Um, Probably didn't have a color TV. No, like I said, about 72. Yeah, sometime around there, we probably got a color TV. But I didn't watch the moon landing in color for sure. Um, yeah, I can remember the grainy footage. But yeah, it's something. My wife wasn't alive to see the moon landing. She missed that one, so I like to tease her about that one. She's she's a few years younger than me. Uh, so this footage you're seeing here, and I'll show you better footage of it here. This is just the intro, and it was we filmed this in some of this in the wave tank and at Memorial University. Memorial University is named after the, it was built in remembrance of the Beaumont Hamel Memorial. July 1st is Memorial Day. The university is named after the Newfoundland Regiment, in memorial of the Newfoundland Regiment that was wiped out on July 1st, 1916. Anyway, uh, the wave tank at Memorial University, I think it's the biggest one in the world, and it's an incredible thing to see. They also have a huge ice. I can't remember what they call that one. Another huge tank. And I mean, if you were to look at them, they kind of look like swimming pools. It's just a pool of water. But the wave tank is, it's incredibly long. It's really, really, really long. I don't remember how long, but really, really long. And it's not incredibly wide, but we had, a couple of lifeboats in it, so it's pretty big, but it's incredibly long. And they have a big ram thing that makes waves, and it can make all different amplitudes of waves, and different sizes and different shapes, and it's all computer controlled and fancy university gear. And it's for testing models of oil rigs and ship designs. The famous America's Cup race, the sailing race, they test their models there. And anyway, incredible, incredible thing to witness. Uh, anyway, I'll let it play, and I'll come back in when we get a better shot of it.
Technology disappeared. Taking the hopes and dreams of a community with her. It is a story of arrogance and complacency, told through the findings of 2 inquiries, the recollections of eyewitnesses, and the memories of those whose loved ones fought for their lives in the icy waters of the North Atlantic. (1982). The price of crude oil is near an all-time high. Higher prices mean higher rewards for those who search for oil. Their quest leads to the huge oil deposits beneath the floor of the North Atlantic. 170 miles off Newfoundland, Canada, are the Grand Banks, home of the Hibernia oil fields. The Ocean Ranger is one of 3 rigs on an exploratory mission seeking Hibernia's untapped wealth. A 1977 film produced by the rig's owner, Odeco, promotes the Ocean Ranger as a technological marvel.
The Ocean Ranger, the world's largest, most technically proficient, self-propelled, semi-submersible drilling platform, is a product of 10
Built in
years.
Japan 6 years earlier, at a cost of $125 million US, the Ocean Ranger has already served in the Gulf of Alaska and the North Sea. The giant.
So that is a curious thing. I lost my picture there for a second. That's a curious thing. I actually looked down through the comments here, and it served in Alaska, the Gulf of Mexico, and the North Sea. How the hell did they get it from Alaska to the North Sea? And one of the comments there said it wouldn't fit through the Panama Canal. So obviously it didn't go through the Panama Canal. So that leaves either go over the top or the bottom. It was a semi-submersible rig. So, it had 2 big pontoons on it. Massive. This thing was massive. The biggest in the world at the time. And it would fill with water like a submarine, fill with water, fill with air, and change where it rode in the ocean, change the buoyancy of the pontoons to raise and lower it in the ocean. And they would lower it down so it would be more stable, so it wasn't riding the waves, And yeah, so I guess they towed it, or I think it might have had some propulsion, not to any great extent, but I think it had some propulsion. And yeah, so I can't imagine it went through the Arctic Ocean. It must have gone around South America. Quite a distance to tow the world's largest oil rig, isn't it?
Rig is built to withstand 100-mile-an-hour winds and 110-foot waves.
The Ocean Ranger, now drilling in the Gulf of Alaska, is the most advanced semi-submersible in existence.
By February 1982, the Ocean Ranger is marking its 2nd winter off the Newfoundland coast. These are deadly waters. Fog, ice, and hurricane storms have claimed over 7,000 ships.
So this is back in the day of, good evening, Rick. This is back in the day before there was a lot of stock footage of this stuff. And this early 2000, I think it was 2002. It doesn't say here. I think it was 2002. Back when our screens were that shape, you can see it's got a different screen ratio there than what we have nowadays, and that's changed again to 4K. But it didn't have the 16:9 ratio that we have now, the common one. That's why it doesn't fit in the frame I have there. So what they were going to do, so I think they went out to one of the oil rigs that were shut down for maintenance or something at the time when we made this documentary. So some of the crew had to go out and shoot on the oil rig, and I was really hoping to be one of the ones that got to go out, but I didn't um, like the Titanic movie. I never got to go out on that one either. Um, did a lot of work on the boat, the Keldysh that filmed the Titanic movie and was in the Titanic movie, but I never got to go to sea on it. Uh, so to go on the helicopter to the oil rig, you have to do as a result of this disaster. Uh, After this disaster happened, there were a lot of safety things put in. Close the barn door after the horses run away. Um, One of the safety protocols was called an inversion test, helicopter inversion test. And you get strapped into a helicopter. It's a real helicopter, a stripped down real helicopter, I guess. And you get stripped into that, and they dunk you in, drop you in one of these test pools I was telling you about. There's the wave tank and the ice tank, and there's a whole bunch of them for testing this kind of stuff. They build scale models of oil rigs and like the America's Cup and all these things and do different tests on them. Uh, and one of the safety things you have to do is the inversion test. And the first one, they just drop you in the water, and I think it's like 7 times you have to do it. And like you're strapped into an actual helicopter, and you get dropped in a big tank of water. And eventually they blindfold you, you're blinded, and the thing flips over. And it's just a series of things you have to do. This is how you get out, whatever it is, you unbuckle yourself, whatever the series of events, and you just do it over and over and over until it becomes burned into your memory. If it ever happens, this is what you do. You don't have to think about it. You know what to do. It happened very recently, like in the last 10 years or so. A helicopter went down going out to the oil rigs. The big oil rig that's out there now is called, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a gravity-based structure. So it's actually sitting on the bottom. It's not semi-submersible like the Ocean Ranger. It sits on the bottom of the ocean, and it is massive. It's like a city. It's like a city. And that was built in Bull Arm in Newfoundland and towed out. It's like a city. It's literally like a city. Massive thing. Yeah, so some of the crew had to do the test to go out, and because you can't step foot on the thing unless you've done the test, the helicopter inversion test. I was hoping to get to do it. It would have been a great adventure to be involved in that.
Since Newfoundland was discovered in 1497. The water is shallow, only 260 feet deep below the rig. Waves crash against the continental shelf and become amplified. At 400 feet long, 260 feet wide, and 340 feet high, the Ocean Ranger is larger than a football field and taller than the depths of the ocean beneath her. She is considered unsinkable. More than half of the 84 men who work on the Ocean Ranger are Newfoundlanders. For the people of Canada's poorest province, the Ocean Ranger provides a rare chance to make decent wages. Anne-Marie Toohey's husband, Mel Freed, is the rig supply manager.
I don't think there were a lot of jobs around at the time, and the jobs on the rigs, they paid well. They were hard to get.
And it was the grail to get good work offshore in the oil boom That was happening in the 1980s. It was everybody's dream job.
Sorry it takes me so long to switch here. That guy is Chris Carney, and Chris is a friend of mine. Nice guy. He was on the Ocean Ranger. They have a shift rotation for, there's several crews. Let me just switch screens here. Didn't think that was right. They have several different crews and they're in rotation. I think it's like 2 weeks off, 3 weeks on, some kind of rotation like that. And Chris was off at the time. And Chris is a great guy. He's a jeweler now. He became a jeweler after the Ocean Ranger disaster. Makes jewelry and like proper jewelry. Proper jeweler, not like a craft fair jeweler. But yeah, great guy. He was lucky to not be on there.
That was happening in the 1980s. It was everybody's dream job.
That's what I was going to tell you. The later in this, because I watched this on Valentine's Day, she mentions that her son, who was kind of a new hand, was making $1,000 a week. So $1,000 a week in 1982 was good money, really good money. That was a lot of money back in 1982, a lot of money. They still make a lot of money. They're still really well paid oil rig workers, really high paying job. And yeah, that was an incredibly high wage in 1982. And I was still in high school at the time. So this is like the generation after me, probably more your age, Asterix. It was the dream job. It's what everybody wanted to do, was to get out on one of those oil rigs. And that was what everybody wanted, was to get on one of those oil rigs. Best pay in the world, man, for, a regular guy and someone with little education, out of high school, will go out and work on an oil rig and making $1,000 a week. And these guys just made so much money. But the Ocean Ranger was infamous before this tragedy. She was called the Ocean Danger. An incredibly dangerous job anywhere. Rig working is an incredibly dangerous job. But you can imagine adding in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean into that danger. And the story going around when we were in school was the guy shows up on the job, one of these urban legends that you hear growing up. The guy shows up first day on the job and there's blood all over the rig floor, and he says, "There's your first job, clean that up." And I said, what is it? This looks like blood. He said, "That's the guy you're replacing." So that's the kind of stories you'd hear from the Ocean Ranger. And there was 2 other rigs out there as well in this same storm, but they survived. Much smaller rigs as well.
For teenager Craig Tilley, the rig offers a bright future.
He might have gotten close to $1,000 a week. I know he came in and he had all kinds of plans and dreams about what he was going to do and what he was going to buy out of all of his money.
The Ocean Ranger holds promise for many Americans as well. Men like Robert Hicks of South Carolina.
He didn't want to work at the shipyard and be gone down there so much he wouldn't see the children. So he said this way he could go to work like 28 days and be home with them, and he'd be able to spend more time with them.
The men of the Ocean Ranger know bad weather, but they also believe the rig can take it.
I've been in some high seas situations where the winds may have reached, gusted to 60, 70 miles an hour, and where the seas were 40 to 50 feet. The rig itself seemed to handle it well, and nobody seemed overly concerned.
It was a little tiny pinprick on the ocean. I saw it from the helicopter, and I couldn't believe it, But then, of course, as the helicopter loomed up, this thing became this monolith, this huge, massive structure. Very imposing once you're on board it. It is big, but you're dealing with the ocean, which is way bigger.
Another oil rig, called the Zapata Uglan, is stationed 19 miles north of the Ocean Ranger. Derek Norman is the weather observer aboard.
The main responsibilities that I had as an ice weather observer was to collect weather data for the marine purposes, sea states, things that would affect the rig, deliveries to the rig, that sort of thing. Aviation weather, things that pilots need to know in order to land helicopters on the rigs.
So Derek is another friend of mine. And Derek, I was thinking about Derek before this event came to mind. And where is that? You may have seen this in the background. I got a video coming up about Blue Willow plates. There's a park. Can't remember where it is. We were there several years ago, and I took footage of it, and I'm finally getting around to making a video about it. It's called Pease Home Park. Can't remember where it is. In Yorkshire, maybe, or south of that, maybe. Anyway, Derek, I've always loved Blue Willow plates, and that I've always loved this pattern of plates. And back in, I don't know, in the 90s sometime, they were giving them away at the grocery store. When you bought so much groceries, you got a free plate, and then the next week you get a free cup or whatever, it was a different piece every week. And Derek was like, we ended up with, I don't know, half a dozen plates and half a dozen cups and saucers and a few different pieces. And Derek was the only person I knew who had the entire set, like the gravy boat and the whole set, like every piece. He had every piece of the Blue Willow crockery or whatever it's called. I remember going to his house for dinner one night, and he had his china cabinet filled with the entire collection. Nice guy. And he was on board the other rig that was out there, so he was monitoring all the radio traffic that was going on that night, and was in this huge storm as well. Again, I'm not going to show this whole documentary, but Derek has the final word in this documentary, and it's fantastic. I'll fast forward to that at some point. We'll just get through this first portion of this.
The rig, deliveries to the rig, that sort of thing. Aviation weather, things that pilots need to know in order to land helicopters on the rigs.
The Ocean Ranger is a city at sea. Supply ships deliver drilling equipment, food, and medical supplies, with one vessel always standing by in case of an emergency. On February 14, 1982, that support ship is the Seaforth Highlander, under Captain Ronald Duncan. Eric Reese was a crewman on the Highlander.
When you work on a supply boat, there's always something different, like backing into a rig or something like that when it's a bit rough and that, and water beating over the top of her, and it was enjoyable.
Aboard the Ocean Ranger, power and responsibility are shared in a complex hierarchy. Foreman Jack Jacobson, the representative of Mobil Oil, the company that leases the rig, is officially in charge.
So another thing that happens in these documentaries is a lot of the crew ends up being in the movie. That's Rod Jarrett. He's one of the drivers in the film crew industry in St. John's.
Company that leases the rig is officially in charge. The rig's captain, Clarence House, coordinates all marine-based activities such as moving from one location to another. But drilling supervisor Kent Thompson, known as the tool pusher, makes all the decisions concerning the drilling operation and has the real authority. On land, Merv Graham is Mobil's drilling superintendent, coordinating and overseeing the rig's activities. Work aboard the rig is demanding, an average of 21 consecutive 12-hour days, followed by 3 weeks off. But the men quickly become accustomed to the routine and the comfortable living conditions. There's even a pool table on board. Pat Ryan recalls the day her son Craig left in February 1982.
Well, I didn't drop him off. Had a bad back, and he just yelled out to me in the morning at 6:30. He said, "Mom, I'm on my way." I said, "Okay, see you in 3 weeks." And off he went.
So I'm not going to play any more than that. I'm just going to skip ahead because it's a tragedy, an absolute tragedy, and it's a tragedy of greed. There was no safety protocols. This is before all that stuff with the helicopter stuff I was talking about. All that came about as a result of this disaster. No safety. There was no safety in place. They talk about going out to the rigs and having lifeboat drills, and they'd go out to the lifeboat and stand around, smoke cigarettes, and somebody get in and start up the motor, and that was about it. That was the lifeboat drill. No one got in the lifeboats, no donning survival suits, none of that. And you can't really appreciate these things. They're like, you've heard of the Titanic, and everybody aboard the Titanic, they basically died from exposure. They froze to death. Just give me a second to get switched over here. They froze to death. They didn't drown. They Thank you. This scene here is one of the funniest in my film career. This scene. It's this is in the wave tank, and you can see we got the actual, not one of the actual lifeboats, but just like the real lifeboat that was on the Ocean Ranger, and so we have these massive waves going in the wave tank, as big as we can handle, because the waves, the actual night would have been much bigger than this. I don't think the wave tank can make waves at 40 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet, etc. high. Like I think they had a wave that was over 100 feet high that took out the porthole. And that's what happened. The porthole in the ballast control room was broken out by a huge wave, like 100-foot wave came over the oil rig and smashed out the porthole. The metal cover was open, again, safety protocols not in place. So the glass smashed out, and a huge wave comes in, seawater, all over the control panel for the ballast control. So the ballast control went all out of whack. And as I was telling you, it was a floating oil rig. So she started taking on water in the ballast, taking on ballast water out of control, and she started to list. And another one of those, unsinkable, you should never use the word unsinkable. It was designed like the Titanic, the famous Titanic thing, but we learned that the bulkheads have to go all the way to the top, right? We learned that. So she had bulkheads that went all the way to the top, sealed bulkheads. But what happened was the pump was in the stern, and she was taking on water and went down by the front. She started to list towards the front. And the pumps are in the back. So the pumps can't pump the water out because of the list. The pumps only worked on level. Another lesson learned after the horse had run away, right? Anyway, she went over, all hands lost. But the Seaforth Highlander, they mentioned, was patrolling, and she was, that was the purpose of this vessel, to patrol around the rig in case of emergency and supplies and if anything happened. And they actually spotted one of the lifeboats. They couldn't get the lifeboats off. That's another one, another Titanic story, right? She's listed, and the lifeboats are gravity launched. So because of the list, the lifeboats are over here. They can't launch the lifeboats because of the list. It's like, didn't we learn that from Titanic? The list, they couldn't launch the lifeboats. Anyway, they managed to get one of the lifeboats away, and a few guys got in that. The Seaforth Highlander shows up, and they throw a line to them. They make the line fast. Only one exit on the lifeboat. All the men come out to go, on the deck of the lifeboat to get rescued. But of course, everybody going to the one side of the lifeboat shifts the weight to one side, and the lifeboat turns over. So all hands are in the water now, those that had survived in the lifeboat, and they all go in the water. And I was there when they interviewed that one guy with the white beard, and one of the Seaforth Highlander crew had was holding the guy's hand trying to pull him aboard the Seaforth Highlander and lost him. And all hands were lost. But I don't really digress, because that's really what this story is about. But when we shot this scene, it was absolutely hilarious. How's that for a segue? The lifeboat is out, and we got a couple of lines tied to the lifeboat to keep it in camera, to keep it in the middle of the wave tank. Like usually it's usually a model is fastened to the bottom so it can ride the waves and that kind of thing. But we didn't want that. They wanted more erratic motion. You know, when they're testing models, they just want to see it do this thing, because the waves are only in one direction, not like in the real world from all directions sometimes. So we have two lines on it, and the boat is kind of doing all over the place, which is what they wanted. But we still had to keep it in frame. So I was on one line, and there's another guy on another line. And the director is operating the camera, and he's out in the water. And we have this huge, like a huge car engine with a fan on it. And it's, the boys are in there with fire hoses spraying water around, and the fan is going, and it's just cacophony, like absolute cacophony, like absolute mayhem. Can't hear anything. And the director looks at me. It was the funniest thing, one of the funniest things in my film career. And he looks at me and he says, "Push the rope, push the rope, push the rope." The boat was going out of frame. And he's telling me to push the rope. Anyway, we had a great laugh about that. And I'm like, obviously you can't push a rope. So this was in that, there's the porthole I was telling you about. So this is the set I built, the ballast control room. And so I built pretty much everything on this set here. I wasn't there when they shot that scene, but I think what they did was they had a big tube connected to the back of the porthole. This is in a building, in a warehouse somewhere. They had like a big tube the size of the porthole, and they threw water down it. And I think they shot it out with a BB gun as well, if I recall correctly. I can't remember. I wasn't there when they shot this scene. I was off building something else for the next scene. But anyway, all that gack, all that buttons and switches and dials and stuff, some of it is real. A lot of it I had to make because we couldn't get enough of the actual stuff to reconstruct it. I managed to, let's see if I can find it here. So this is one of two photos I had to work from to build this set. And you can see here's the porthole here. We had to change things up a bit for camera. But this was, I don't even know if I had a photo as good as this, but this is an actual photo of the ballast control room. And there's another view of it there. Yeah, I don't know if we even had photos as good as this to work from. So the water comes in and the control room just gets wrecked. It's all electrical. And nobody knew what to do. There was no safety measures, no what if this happened scenarios. This was never thought of. This scenario was never prepared for. And there was a manual override. Nobody knew how to operate it. And instead of diverting water to another ballast tank to bring it back, take on water back here or something to level it out, they ended up opening these and making it worse, and the rig toppled over. Nobody knew what they were doing. They weren't trained. They weren't trained on what to do in this situation. Incredibly sad story. Like I said, all hands were lost. 84 men. So that was our Valentine's Day story. This is all in the wave tank. Incredible facility, the wave tank. So the rig went over completely intact, and that's the Ocean Ranger Memorial. Interesting sculpture up by the Confederation building. Let's see if I can find some more shots of the set there. They had it pretty good. Those guys were making real good money. So here's some of what was going on. It's the ballast under the water there, if you can make sense of that without the audio explanation. So it's kind of like a submarine. The ballast control room was in one of those pylons, one of those cylinders. And the porthole broke out, and they didn't know what to do. That's a good buddy of mine there. That's Wayne Hines. Wayne and I played in a band together for many years. So it's bigger than the actual thing, but we do things like that for camera a lot. Anyway, let's see if I can get to another final word. So Derek was monitoring all this. There's a fantastic song by Ron Hines called Atlantic Blue, and I encourage you to have a listen to it. Atlantic Blue by Ron Hines. It's about the Ocean Ranger disaster. It's not about the Ocean Ranger disaster. It's a tribute to the disaster. Fantastic song. Another good friend of mine, Ron Hines, who's no longer with us, but I played with Ron for many years. Played bass with Ron for several years and workshopped the album that Atlantic Blue is on. So yeah, you can see the pumps were in the stern, the so-called stern, and she couldn't pump the water out. It's a really dark, that piece of set really bugged me, as things do. They brought me in this piece of metal. They take this apart on camera to dry out the switches and stuff. They take them out and rinse them in fresh water to get them get the salt water out of them and dry them off with a hair dryer. But they gave me this really crappy piece of metal. It's like it needed to be a thicker piece of metal, and this has always bugged me. You can see the metal flex when he pushes the button. No one would ever see this without me telling you, but you can see the metal is too flimsy, it's too thin, it's like flashing or something you'd put on a roof or something, really thin metal. Right, you'd never ever see that if I didn't point it out, right? I'm great fun to watch movies with. I see all these kind of things watching movies. My wife worked in film as well. She was a set designer and art designer, production designer, and she went to see, what's that new period drama? I can't think of the name of it. New big period drama that's out, and what's her name? The one that plays no good with these things. Oh, what's the name of that movie? New period drama, like old, Regency England. I cannot think of the name of it. And Margot Robbie is one of the stars in it. And she's supposed to be like a 15-year-old girl in the book, and Margot Robbie's probably 40 or something now, right? But my wife was so distracted by the sets, she couldn't tell me whether it was a good movie or not. The sets were just awful, like so distracting. And that's what happens when you work in film and television. You end up, if something is wrong with the movie, you end up picking the movie to bits because of bad set design and stuff. I'll just play this last bit here, where Derek has the final word here.
Has no memories and no remorse.
You drink it, you die. If you fall into it, you die. If you spend your life working on it, you die. So that's it. Poison with it.
The Ocean Ranger disaster has taught us that neither our most advanced technology nor our grandest dreams can conquer the power of the sea.
So I didn't make it in the credits of this documentary. I looked up after. There's only one carpenter listed. But I built the main set for the film, 2002. So that's one of those sad Newfoundland this day in history things. Well, almost this day in history, the 15th of February, Valentine's Day. So you can check that documentary out in full if you wish. It's called Ocean Ranger Disaster, and it's a 6-part thing. I think it's about an hour long, and yeah, and definitely check out the song by Ron Hines. Ron Hines, Atlantic Blue, tribute to the Ocean Ranger disaster. It's a fantastic song. it's very touching. And that's all I have to say about that. So hopefully I can get this working a little better. It's still working okay. I don't know what those drop frames were about at the beginning there. So hopefully we got everything working okay. The video seemed to play okay. I don't know why it was overloading at the beginning there. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one, Thursday, 6:30. And we'll bring it back home. Next time we're going to look at the water supply for Greater Manchester, if you can believe. We'll bring it a little closer to home, or at least those that are listening here live home. So there you go. We'll see you in the next one.